Welcome to the Web3 Enabler Real World Podcast. I'm here with Rebecca Kaplan, UX and marketing expert. Rebecca, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a UX UI designer. I transitioned into UX from marketing, and now I do both. I transitioned into UX because I saw a white space that could be filled in Web3. And if you've ever used any Web3 tools, you've experienced tons of friction. And I felt like I could contribute and I can help advance this space by creating better user experiences. So, and now I'm here with Zoe, and we get to work on amazing Web3 products.
It's a pleasure. Yes, it is a pleasure working with you and your expertise. So the topic for today is Web3 education and what makes quality education content and education structure. And I know that that's like a big part of how to get into any Web3 tool, because you essentially have to first learn what it is, and it can be quite complex to navigate. So that said, what are some of your favorite Web3 learning experiences and why?
Yeah, absolutely. A long time ago, I used Rabbit Hole. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's really cool. And it's kind of a learn by doing kind of scenario, which is pretty cool. I'm currently going through the Stellar Quest. And, they're kind of Rabbit Hole's got a similar thing where you're kind of like gamified, completing these little quests, and that's how you learn, which is pretty cool. And then there's a really amazing program called SheFi. Everyone should check it out. It does have some scholarships if you're interested, and they do a really awesome job just teaching you about crypto and the space and all the intricacies. So those are just some that come to mind.
Great. Yeah, I mean, the scholarship and diversity component is also really great for the industry because it brings the best and the brightest from all angles. Yeah, I mean, so I've definitely experienced the same as far as the gamification and interactive component being super important. So for example, I love hackathons. I love leading them. I love attending them. I got to participate in one this week run by Shardium regarding scaling Web3, and it typically has a very logical, intuitive, and engaging progression of events. So starting with an intro to the ecosystem and some live demos, and then you start to work on a project. And some people engage for learning purposes. Some people already have a company and are building upon it, and hope and potentially being introduced to VCs afterward, depending. Because it's all connected, trying to get the best innovation, but really starting with that content and that first point of contact. And the role of developer relations or community manager is therefore super meaningful to me, because it really allows for that. It really makes that happen and makes that come to life. And I think it's very motivating to anyone starting out, whether you're starting out in Web3 altogether or whether you're starting out in Web3 in a specific ecosystem within Web3 if you've entered from another. And one other thing is, kind of valuing different entry points and perspectives into Web3. So for example, Alchemy University has a Discord community, which I really like, but it also is great for learners of all skill levels. So for example, it has JavaScript tutorials in addition to Solidity tutorials, for example. So people who are new to JavaScript 2 could learn JavaScript on that Web3 learning platform. So then it kind of streamlines into what they learn next as far as other aspects of the Web3 stack. So I really like that. I think that that's paramount in terms of getting the most enthusiastic, best, and the brightest into Web3. And so I'm all about that and the gamification components.
And hackathons, right? They're amazing. I love hackathons too. I've participated in quite a few. The idea of learning by doing is amazing. That's how I love to learn, and that's kind of like the mentality around Sprintfolio, which is a career accelerator. So if you're a designer and you want to break into emerging tech like AI and Web3, you come to Sprintfolio and you work on a real project and you learn by doing. So, and I think when you're doing that, when you're like applying like theoretical things in real life to real company, real projects, your learning just gets exponentially better. Your ability to like understand the real problems that the industry is trying to work in has just becomes exponentially better. So love hackathons for that reason. And then you're working alongside people who are excited. And the innovation that happens at hackathons, it's amazing. It's really, really, really cool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's really great. I'm just glad to see more of them from all parts of the Web3 ecosystem. And what's your experience as an educator and also as a UX expert as far as the use of AI, for example, in this for interactivity?
So I am really, really interested in the intersection of AI and blockchain. I think that AI can make blockchain smarter, can streamline some processes there, and blockchain can make AI more secure. So they kind of make the perfect match. Um, I'm super pro AI. If you follow me on social media, if you ever talk to me and this comes up, you're gonna know right away that I am on that boat for the long run. And the reason is that if you're using it at all, you can kind of take your skill level at least one level up just by using AI, knowing how to use it. So as an educator, at least at Sprintfolio, what we do is like we teach the UX designers how to leverage AI to be able to like get more information, streamline their processes, and just become like stronger UX designers, which is really, really important. And when you're designing for something like Web3, where you probably need to be a little bit more technical, you need to understand the intricacies a little bit more, being able to like lean on AI as a mentor becomes like super, super important, right? Although designing in Web3 is not that much different than designing in Web2, the problems that you're trying to solve are different, and therefore you need to kind of be really creative, right? And try to like understand how you can kind of get a user to from point A to point B in the fastest and most like easier way possible. And it's great to be able to like brainstorm with AI, right? And to role play a little bit, be like, hey, I'm trying to solve this problem. Can we can we talk about it? Like just so that I can kind of get some ideas and flush out this concept a little bit more. So super pro AI for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, the ability to ask it questions is just such a great way to learn from various sources in real time and just be able to use the beauty of experimentation.
Yeah.
And, especially with, something so complex as far as learning curve and, all the various components to it. The more questions you ask, the more questions you have to ask. And it keeps you motivated, it keeps you going. There's really no better mentor than AI in that regard. So yeah.
I think there's one caveat that I think and it's important that we mention it, because AI is not perfect and it does have some inherent biases, and it does create hallucinations, which is pretty much it'll just like make up information because it's there, it wants to please you, its user, and it'll just make something up if it doesn't know the answer. So if you're using AI regularly, and checking your work, you can kind of gauge. You get a good idea of like how often it's kind of doing those things, and you become better at using AI, right? You give it more information, you let it know that it can ask you questions back. You prompt it to kind of like wear a certain hat and ask questions if it doesn't know. But if you're just starting out, and you kind of take everything it says as reality, you're gonna end up in some sticky situations. So definitely use it, leverage it, allow it to help you become better at your job, better at what you want, who you want to be. However, double check the information and don't be afraid to ask it. Is that true? Is that real? Where did you get that information? And then it will tell you, it will answer you. And it will say things like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You are correct. That's not a real piece of information." So yeah, so just move move along with it with some cautious and awareness.
So true. So true. Yeah, just question the output. I mean, but like, similar, similar to how you question an answer from a human being. Especially, and then it's similar to just fake news and things you might find on the internet that who knows how they got generated, but quite likely there was AI somewhere in the mix if you see it online these days. So question that as well. But just always keeping a healthy dose of skepticism is important. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to, ultimately goes back to the questioning that makes anything learning wise, innovating, super fascinating and engaging. Right?
Absolutely.
So if you have one piece of, one kind of key takeaway for people starting out in Web3, what would you say?
If you're brand new to Web3, and you just kind of want to dip your toes a little bit, I think start by finding like some people you really like, some people on social media you can follow and kind of like listen to the things that they're saying and stuff. Educate yourself, but don't go too much in the weeds as to the technology. Unless you're a super technical person, then amazing, go for it. If you're like my mother or like an average person that's just like it's curious, you want to learn, but don't get too in the weeds because it can be overwhelming. It can be discouraging. Instead, find communities on social media or Slack or Discord that you can join and kind of like talk to people about the space, and how like the topics that you're interested in, like those kind of things. That would be my advice to start.
I like that. Community is just so powerful.
Yeah.
And I would also probably quote Rashama Sajani, brave, not perfect. In that regard, don't try to understand anything because you will fail. There's so much. So just enjoy the ride. And that said, thank you for your time, and it's a wrap.